One of my favorite clever pieces of world building from Jujutsu Kaisen is the revealing one's hand binding vow. Because we all know that one of the tropes in anime is that characters will just start monologuing, explaining everything they're doing for really no reason. But in JJK, it does serve a purpose. Because in JJK, we have binding vows, basically these trade offs where you give something up in order to get something in return. So by explaining your technique to your opponent, you're giving them an advantage on you. And in return for that, your technique will become more powerful. So I actually got a really interesting question related to this binding vow today from Chaos Junkie. And essentially he says, let's imagine we have a scenario with two sorcerers, let's say Choso and Yuji. And in their fight, Choso uses the revealing one's hand binding vow, explains his technique to Yuji, and gets that boost. Let's say the fight ends, they both survive, and go their separate ways. Years later, if they come back and fight again, does Choso still have the benefit of that revealing one's hand binding vow? Or did it run out? Did it evaporate? And honestly, this is a great question. My gut instinct would be that yes, he still has it, because there's nothing in the language that implied it would only be a temporary boost. He was making an exchange. I will give you this information, and in return for that information, I get this bonus, right? So nothing really has changed in that equation, in my opinion. So to me, if you use the revealing one's hand binding vow on someone, your technique is going to be permanently enhanced against that person. But just for the sake of argument, let's say it is temporary and that the boost only lasts a little bit. Could you then use revealing one's hand again against the same person later? And here, probably not, because obviously that person knows your technique. You've already told them about it. But as something I've talked about in videos before, I believe you, the individual making the binding vow, are the purveyor of said binding vow. So since you know that you told them their technique, you couldn't in good faith reveal that information as if you hadn't, right? But let's say you had amnesia and you forgot that you'd fought that person before and you forgot that you'd used the revealing one's hand binding vow. In that case, I think it would work again, even though your opponent already knows your technique, because you don't know that they know. So in your mind, you are still giving up a sacrifice by revealing that information, and thus you would get the boost. That's my 2 cents on it, at least, but this is a really interesting question, so I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts down below.